You are Locked On Coogs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Parker Ainsworth, Locked On Coogs here. And while the sheet came out with the two deep on it, a lot of people were picking up different things. One thing that is very clear on this two deep depth chart is Houston is very deep at the skill positions. They listed the starters as Devin Williams, Boogie Johnson, and then Amari Thomas or Mekhi Muse at wide receivers. I love the oars and depth charts. But that's kind of, I think, will be dependent on where they get the ball on the field, start the game or whatever, right, as far as who gets the actual start. But Harvey Broussard and Kobe Young were both listed as second string. Listen, this week, obviously, with Stephen F. Austin, you're playing an FCS opponent. You can anticipate them all getting a catch. I would venture to say that they play 12 games, assuming they're all healthy, I would venture to say all six of those guys, Devin Williams, Boogie Johnson, Amari Thomas, Mekhi Muse, Harvey Broussard, Kobe Young, all six of those guys record a catch in like 11 of 12 games. Like, I feel very confident in that. Those guys are all going to see the field a lot, where we haven't seen that kind of rotation at the receiver position really in a couple years. Both in Dana's last year and in Fritz's first year, they didn't feel like jumping into that quite as much. Now, down the stretch of the season last year, you did a little bit more. But at the start of the year, you certainly didn't. Dana's last year, you certainly didn't. You kind of had the big three that last year with Dana, right? And it was Golden. It was, I guess it was also Boogie, and then it was Manjack. And those were the only three guys that ever saw the field, it felt like, right? I don't think that's going to be the problem with this year's team. The problem is really going to be more about like how do you keep them all happy with their production. But the great thing about these guys, and I don't want to act like I know all six personally, but we've spoken to Mekhi Muse on the show before, we've spoken to Boogie Johnson on the show before, spoken to Kobe Young on the show before. They all put winning above everything. And so if things are going smoothly, I'm sure that they could all be very easily sold. And hey, you get 4 catches, not 7, or hey, you get 3 catches, not 5, and like things are moving okay, they're all going to be fine, right? Like, I think that they get that piece of it. They all got that kind of head on their shoulders, and I think that speaks, frankly, to the kind of culture Fritz is building here. Devin Williams being listed as a starter only surprised me in. I think you hear a lot about Kobe Young because Kobe Young has this like crazy, twitchy, wiggliness to him. That I think has really wowed a lot of people. I heard someone say you couldn't catch him in a phone booth, right? Like energy in a bottle. Like, I think that what interests me about Devin Williams is that's rewarding a guy for the production and the stuff he had down the stretch last year, because he did have a good end of the season last year. And so that's, I think, where that comes in. Leadership, a little bit older guy too. Amari Thomas does not have the leadership kind of stuff. And Amari Thomas is a dynamic pass catcher, tremendous couple seasons at South Florida before coming to Houston. Mekhi Muse, though, is a Georgia transfer that is, frankly, like the epitome of everything captain you'd ever want. And so they're duking it out for that third starting receiver spot technically, but they're both going to see the field, right? And so I think that's the beauty of this thing. When you have an offense that can hum a little bit and a quarterback that can sling it around in Connor Wegman, I think he'll be all right. Now, as far as the tight end room goes, other pass catchers, I think it's interesting that you brought back Jaden York, who you listed as your starter last year. And frankly, I don't think he did horribly last year. He became more of the blocking tight end out of the couple, but he was listed as your starter. And he doesn't make the two deep this year, not for any fault of his own. You just brought in that much talent in Tanner Kozel and Luke McGarry. He wants to say McGarry, Luke McGarry, as a couple transfers there. And really that, I think, speaks to how much they're going to utilize those guys. Kozel is a okay blocker. He is a pass catching machine. 94 catches a year ago at tight end. 6'9" on this, and that's 6'9", as Fred said in the commentary in the in the press conference. That is your traditional 6'9", no shoes, like true measurement 6'9". They list him as well at 240 pounds. For what it's worth, other people are throwing out 250, but that's how they're going to give him 240. Luke McGarry's 6'4", the short guy in the bunch is 6'4", 250 pounds. Big, big targets in those short check down, release valve, save me kind of areas for the quarterback. Especially like the goal is to keep Connor Wegman upright. If he can get the ball out of his hands early, it's harder to hit him. When you have a big target like Cozell, that's how you get the ball out of his hands early. Hey, 5-yard hits, jump ball. 5-yard hits, jump ball. What's the Witten Dallas Cowboy, Jason Witten button hook, right? Those kind of things. That's what you're looking at there. More of the too many dudes kind of thing. The running back room apparently doesn't have a starter. It's listed as Rashawn Sanford or Dean Connors or Jamarian Burnett. It's not in number order, not in alphabetical order, not in seniority order. So I think that means that technically Rashawn has the starting nod, but that's when you throw Stacey Snead into as the dynamic pass catcher out of the backfield, I think you're really looking at a room full of guys that it's going to be by committee. I think it's going to be by committee all year, if I'm being honest. And it does not sound like Fritz wants that. He said in the commentary that he hopes someone becomes kind of a bell cow or a workhorse in the group. If I were to put my money on one of those guys, it comes down to Sanford and Connors. I think Sanford feels more like a running back to me. He's got the wiggle, and frankly, he makes guys miss in small areas inside the tackles. Dean Connors certainly makes guys miss in wide open spaces, right? Like one-on-one in that out wide, he makes guys miss a lot more. So maybe it will kind of depend on how the offensive line is blocking as to what they do more, to which one guy gets kind of more of the nod. But I still feel pretty strongly about Rashawn. As not a knock to anyone. I mean, all four backs are really, really good backs. All four backs should, and in my opinion, will play. But I do think that if you're looking for the workhorsey type back, like Fritz mentioned he wants, then you're probably going to settle to Sanford, maybe Connors at some point getting a little bit more of the carries than anybody else. But that's TBD. Obviously, the offensive line was another story on the offensive side of the ball. 4 new starters. The starting lineup they listed here: left tackle Alan Ibaselli, the transfer in from Baylor; left guard Jason Brooks, the transfer in from Oklahoma State; center Pancake Demetrius Hunter, one of the highest recruits ever committed to University of Houston back in 2022. He's back as a starter. He started 12 games last season. Matthew Wykoff, transferring from Cal, but also spent time at A&M with Connor Wegman. He's coming in at right guard, and Dalton Merriman, the transfer from Texas Tech, at right tackle. That's 4 power conference experienced guys coming in as new offensive linemen. Now, Merriman switches from left tackle to right tackle, and Jason Brooks, back when we talked to Cody Stovall, he acted like it was political, but Jason Brooks started for a lot of games in the 2023 season, did not get a lot of starts 2024 season at Oklahoma State. Remember the 2023 season, they went to the Big 12 championship game, but I digress. Ibaselli has been in and out of lineups, has some red shirts, and again, he's a high school 2022 kid that is listed as a redshirt freshman, right? Like, there's a lot of that in this as well. I don't mean to say that everyone's a perfect 5-star product ready to go to the NFL, but they are all guys that have real deal experience. If you trust your development system they got in Iman Yagavi, I feel like you got to feel pretty good about that. I also should point out that David Dukwe, who, for my money, had the I had to be alerted to this, frankly. I didn't know that I would have given him this kind of nod until someone's like, going to go back and watch. And Dukwe had a really strong season individually last year. And I would have thought he'd figure into this somehow. I think it speaks to the work of other guys that he's not. I don't think it's a knock on Dukwe at all. But David just got jumped a little bit here. Now, they'll probably all play Thursday, and we've heard Fritz say before they're going to use these first couple games as like trying to figure out, like in live, like think about it like NFL preseason kind of who's going to fit in where. But that is interesting. I also think that he's listed as a backup center right now. I don't know what position he'll play because he played 4 of the 5 spots in his time at New Mexico, but Mackenzie Agnello is going to play a lot this season. I don't know which spot it will be. Again, he's listed as backup center with the 6'4", kind of bulldog mentality of an offensive lineman, 315 pounds. He's too talented to sit all season. I bet he plays somewhere. They might just be waiting to see who breaks a shoelace first or something. But he's a ball player, and he's a hog molly like hog molly like a mean boar kind of hog molly, not like, I don't know, not like he's built rotund like Pumbaa, but he is certainly the warthog that Pumbaa is not depicted to be in that movie. I didn't know I was going to be referencing Lion King today, but dad of a toddler, that's the way things go sometimes. I do want to talk about other notable things that are not on the offense, kind of circle back the defense for some of that in a second. So please stick with us. But before we get too far, today's show is brought to you by our buddies over at Rugiet, because guys, listen, you've probably heard of Viagra, Cialis, those pills at the gas station. Look, if you want to get something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready, because Rugiet Ready is the next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast. On average, in 15 minutes, can last up to 36 hours. The effects can last for 36 hours, so you can stay confident in control when the moment is right. It is board certified, completely online. Doctor ships it in discreet packaging to your door. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege to get 15% off today. That's Rugiet, RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege, and use promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compound drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information. I'm probably supposed to say this part where you subscribe, we keep our jobs, and blah, 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 right? Anyway.